Hello guys and gals, and welcome! So Diablo 4 is going to be getting a day one patch, and we do have the patch notes. So for those of you guys who are interested, there's not a lot of changes, but there are changes. And let's go over them really quickly. It won't take us very long. So the patch is going to hit basically day one, and it does affect some various things, as you can see here. This is over on Wowhead, by the way. They have this in full for you, and I'll include the link in the description. So legendary aspects, critical strikes with core skills increase your attack speed by 15 to 25%. Has been changed from the, of course, I can't even read that because it's crossed out. It looks like a 3 to me, to 5 seconds, so it's been increased. Barbarian legendary aspects, the aspect of ancestral echoes, while the Call of the Ancients is on your action bar, damaging enemies with leap, upheaval, or whirlwind. Have up to a 40 to 50% chance to summon an ancient to perform the same skill. They removed the can only happen once every 5 seconds. So that's interesting. I guess that would be a buff, because can only happen once every 5 seconds would mean that it doesn't happen very often. It's going to happen only once every 5 seconds, but this would potentially mean it can happen more than once every 5 seconds. So interesting. The Druid also got several changes. Cataclysm, lucky hit chance was increased from 62 to 72% chance, which is a pretty ridiculous increase there. Massive Storm follows you for 8 seconds was increased to 10 seconds. The Cataclysm is the ultimate for the Druid. A lot of the Druid ultimates did feel a little lackluster. Petrify, encase all nearby enemies in stones, stunning them for 3 seconds was increased to 3.75 seconds. So a bit of a buff there to Petrify, making it even more useful to stun enemies. Against bosses, the critical strike damage bonus is increased by 50% and its duration is increased by 6 seconds, but it's 7.5 seconds versus bosses now. So it got a duration increase in both against regular enemies and against bosses. Grizzly Rage, shapeshift into a dire werebear for 10 seconds was increased to 12. Everything else pretty much stays the same, so again, a duration increase. Lacerate, shapeshift into werewolf, becoming immune, and quickly dash 10 increased to 12 times between enemies in an area, dealing up to 400 increased to 500% damage. So some pretty big buffs there to basically all of the Druid ultimates. The Rogue skill Dash got a damage increase from 32 to 36% chance, 36% damage. And the Necromancer Golem got a... you are protected by a Golem with X life that attacks for 17, increased to 21% damage. The Golem sheds corpses as it takes damage was removed. So it no longer is going to shed corpses. That's interesting. Instead, now it will absorb 15% of the damage you would take and recovers life while attacking. I thought this was the Blood Golem effect. Wasn't that the... but interesting. Active, your Golem becomes unstoppable. Taunts nearby enemies and takes 30% reduced damage for 6 seconds has been crossed out. Drains the blood of enemies in the area, dealing 40% damage and healing 4% of its life for each enemy drained. Damage and healing received are tripled if only one enemy is drained. When your Golem dies, it respawns after 20 seconds. So, looks like they've made some considerable changes to the Golem itself, but which Golem, though? I mean, there's multiple Golems. There's the Iron Golem, there's the Blood Golem, and then there's the Bone Golem. Now, it was my understanding that the taunt was the Bone Golem, right? And the Sheds Corpses is definitely the Blood Golem. So they took away the ability for the Blood Golem to shed corpses. Seems interesting. I mean, it kind of seems like a little bit of a buff for the Golem, but also a little bit of utility was taken away. The taunt was kind of nice on the Bone Golem, but... I mean, basically now what? It's just draining blood of enemies from in the area, dealing pretty decent damage and healing for each enemy drained. There also seems to be a boss buff here, so damage and healing received are tripled if only one enemy is drained. So basically when you're fighting a boss who's by himself, the Golem will be a little bit more tanky versus a single target. They also changed a bunch of the elixirs, which is also here. The crit strike chance was decreased from 4 to 2%. The damage was decreased from 25 to 15. The precision one was 6 to 3, 25 to 20. Like, basically, they basically nerfed a bunch of these elixirs. I guess they figured these elixirs were just too powerful. All the crit strike elixirs were nerfed by quite a bit. It looks like half on all of them. So, yeah, half. And then they reduced all of them by, looks like, it's kind of odd. Like, this one was reduced by 10%, this one was only reduced by 5. This one wasn't reduced at all, and this one was reduced by 5, and then this one was reduced by 10. Kind of a little odd how they didn't really do those the same at all. But the crit strike chance on all of them was halved, so interesting. The weak third eye elixir, the dodge chance was reduced by 1%, and it looks like they reduced the dodge chance on all of the potions. And that's pretty much it. So that's all of the changes that are going to be coming between Server Slam and now. So if you're looking forward to Druid, a lot of the Druids ultimates did get buffed. Dash got a damage increase. The Golem got some interesting changes, which we're going to have to test out in game. Quite a few of the elixirs got nerfed. And on top of that, we also have a very interesting change to aspect of the Ancestral Echoes, which could be interesting. It seems like they're going after crit chance a little bit here, because I mean, a half debuff on all these potions is pretty big. I think these potions are going to play a pretty big role in the game as well, by the way, because they're not exactly very difficult to craft, and they last for 30 minutes, which is a pretty long period of time. So if you're doing like a tough dungeon or something like that, having an extra like 6% crit chance is going to be a pretty big deal, especially if you're a crit build. And, you know, having like an extra 10% dodge chance could be pretty big also. Like, a lot of this stuff, these potions don't really seem like a lot at first, and then when you get into some of the harder content and you're trying to min-max and make your character work out right, I mean, the potions can actually be pretty valuable, so I wouldn't sleep on these. Maybe early on in the game, just collect materials and don't worry about it too much. Everything does give an EXP bonus, by the way, like all the potions do. So just making like the cheapest potion gets you an EXP bonus. But later on in the game, you'll probably be crafting specific potions to, help out your specific build. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when I'm just yakking about the patch notes for Diablo 4. And I'll see you guys tomorrow in game.